Hi guys, and welcome to our next art tutorial. Today what we're going to be talking about is our semi-project, which is about a 2-day project, and it is called Abstract with Watercolors. So what I'm going to do is just bring the camera down so you can see what's going on, because there's a lot of different steps you have to do before you actually start painting. So on here, what you're going to need first is a ruler or even just a sharp edge notebook, whatever you need to use on this. You'll need your watercolors, water cup, paper, and a pencil. What I'm going to do is get one out of here. Let's see. Maybe we can use that one for today. All right, and so when we say abstract with colors, some of you may have done abstract projects with me before, but in this particular sense, what we're going to do is flip our paper over, because if you have one and it has a title like this, that means that's the back of the paper, and the one that has no writing is the front. And we're going to be doing basically breaking up our sections on here using our ruler. So it's going to purposely break everything up into interesting shapes, sizes, and whatnot. And then I can start showing you what the next part is. So in this case, what I'm going to do is take my ruler. I'm going to divide everything up. And generally what I start out with is I stick with either, if I'm going to do vertical lines, I'm going to do vertical. If I'm going to do diagonals, I'm going to do diagonals. And they don't have to be perfect, because that's not the purpose of this. It's just to kind of break up the space on here. So let's flip it like this. And of course, if you hear a bell, like always, that means it's my cat who wants to go in the garage. Salem, give me just a moment, please. All right, I'm going to come in. I'm going to put in about maybe a vertical line here. All right, I'll do another vertical line. He really wants to go outside, so I will let him out in just a second. Salem. Okay, who knows how quickly he will start yelling at me. We'll find out. All right, I'm going to finish this out with maybe a horizontal line here and another one up here. Now, you do not have to do as many lines as I am doing, guys. I'm just having some fun getting everything broken up. So as you can see, I have two different sets of diagonal lines. I have vertical lines and horizontal lines. So some areas are a little small and some areas are a bit bigger, and that's fine. So what you're going to do next is you're going to draw a circle. And I know that sounds crazy because you're like, why would I draw a circle? There is a reason. And you can either use something in the house to kind of trace around, or you can freehand it. It doesn't have to be a very large circle, but you do want a circle somewhere. So if you don't want it in the dead center, you don't have to. If you want it more on the left, the right, the top, the bottom, you pick. It's your deal. Okay. There we go. It's not my perfect circle, but I'll live with it. A little oblong or something. So this is what you're basically going to have. Now the purpose of this, having everything broken up, is for you to decide where you're going to paint certain colors. So with our watercolor kit, get that open, we have quite a few options on here. So before you start painting, like I said, there's several steps you have to do before you get to that part. You now need to go through each of the divided up areas and decide what colors you're going to use. If you want to use 2 colors or 3 colors, that's fine. I've got no problem with that. But I wouldn't get too crazy with it if you can. 4, I think, is the max. But for me today, I'm just going to use 3 colors. So I think I'm going to work with red, green, and purple. I think those are the 3 I want to work with. So what I'm going to do now that I've decided the colors I'm going to work with, I need to mark throughout here on the divided areas where I'm going to put those colors. Okay. So let's see, I'm going to put red here. So I'm going to put a little R very lightly written on here. I'll put green and purple. And then I'll kind of switch it up. I'll go back to green, red, put purple here. Red here. So red, red, red. Put green, green. Put a green here. Put another red. Put purple here. Purple. I know this seems extremely tedious, and it kind of is doing this particular work, but the reason that we're marking everything out is so that if you already figure out, oh, I have a purple next to a purple, maybe that's not where I want to have it, you can already figure this out before you actually start painting. So I'm going to finish out all of the writing on here, and then we can get started on the next part. So. Okay, I think I got it figured out. Sweet. So I'll get this a little closer to the camera so you can see what's going on. So as you can see, I very lightly put in a letter representing what colors I'm using. And that way I can kind of see, I wanted stuff to be, like if green is here, then I have a different color here, here, and here. However, if it's a corner that's slightly not quite touching it, then it's okay if it repeats. So now that I have all my stuff figured out, you're not just painting solid colors. You're going to be using the same skill sets that you did with shading with watercolor in this same thing, okay? So I'm going to get my purple ready. I'm going to find a large section that I'm working with. Okay, let's see. And the circle is the object. So I still want to make it look three-dimensional. So I need to figure out where my light source is. I'm going to say it's from over here. I'm going to kind of slowly blend out my watercolor, and I'm going to try and stay in my section. If I feel like maybe I have too much, I can wait and soak up a little bit of it in just a second. I'm going to get a little bit of my area here wet without any color, because as you can see, as soon as the color hits, it immediately bleeds out, which is fine. I'm trying to have a slightly more diluted background. All right, cool. All right, so we got one section done. I'm going to do two more colors, and then I'll pause the video. I'll finish out what I have on here, and that way you can see what the finished product looks like. I'm going to go in and grab some red right here. Don't want to grab too much. Just going to try and get in this triangle here. There we go. And if I feel like it's too light, I can go back after it dries to make it darker. All right, let's get some green. Again, I'm going to try and stay in my sections. And if it's a little easier for you, instead of you doing the watercolors right next to each other like I am right now, if you prefer to have, you start here and then you kind of start on the other side of the page while this dries so it doesn't bleed into each other, that's fine. You can absolutely do that. There we go. Okay. So that might be a little hard to see, but I'll get this a little closer at the moment. So as we're starting out, every section that's been divided out, I'm going to stick with that color. However, the goal in the end is still to make this look three-dimensional with our watercolors. So I'm going to go ahead and pause the video for a little bit. I'm going to finish out the rest of this, and that way you can see what is it going to start to look like, okay? Give me just one sec. All right, so I'm not fully done. I did get everything filled in. I was trying to start doing my shading to show my shadow down here to get this look to more three-dimensional. So I'll kind of turn this around so you can see what's going on here. So as you can see, I have every space filled with the color that I had marked earlier on. But my biggest thing is just trying to get this to look more three-dimensional in the center. And that gets really tricky with watercolors. So you have to understand the reason I had you do the 50 shades of swatches to get used to doing the dark to light colors is because this is purposely pushing that even further, as well as the shading with your watercolors to get a more three-dimensional look. Both things tie into this particular semi-project. So what I need to do to help bring this more together is I let everything more or less dry. These are still a little wet, so I'm going to give it some more time on this. But I want to kind of make these nice, cleaner, sharper edges. So I'm just going to take some time, clean these up, as well as I need to start thinking about where I need to kind of lighten up a few things. I might take some white glaze that I can make to get this to lighten up, to have that light hit the object source. And then I'm going to do a shadow underneath as well. So, but I wanted to give you a better idea as to what we're aiming for so you have a better idea on it, okay? I'm going to take a few moments and get my paintbrush. Of course, now the light wants to come through that window on the other side of my house and make everything bright. So that's lovely. I'm gonna get that a little bit more diluted. A thing that can help you, especially in these kind of spaces right here where you have that dark edge, I want to get this to be a little bit darker, but if I feel like it's melding into here a little too much, what I can do is just use my brush like a sponge and just use the paper towel or napkin that you have to kind of soak up some of that color so that it doesn't have to look flat. I still want to make this area darker, but I don't want it to be so dark that this steals from it. Okay. Well, I'm going to pause it one more time. I'm going to clean up a few of my areas. I'm going to work on my shadow, and then I'll add my white glaze, and we'll see how it looks. Give me just a sec. All right, so I got what I could get done. Some of my stuff kind of started to blend into each other, which I was like, no, but I'll let it go as it is. So I know it's a little bright because the sun has decided to come right through that window at the worst timing. But as you can see, I have my three-dimensional, well, more or less three-dimensional circle, and I have its shadow, and I have a light source, which currently is in my eyes. Good Lord, that is a very bright sun. So anyway, this is kind of basically what I would ask that you try and do. Put in some time, let things dry, let things layer carefully, because as you can tell, more or less in this area, it started to kind of blend with each other and it didn't really do so much of what I was asking to do. So even I have challenges with watercolors. So anyway, have fun with it, experiment. If you get stuck, ask me. And other than that, I hope y'all have a wonderful day. Okay, talk to you later. Bye.